Have you ever been lost? Well, I get lost a lot due to my lousy, or more accurately, my non-existent sense of direction. If I have to choose between making a left or a right, without my GPS, I'll choose the wrong way 99% of the time. So I'm glad that you didn't get lost coming to church this morning. Or maybe you did, and you're not sure how you got here or why you are here. No matter, I'm happy that you are here. With summer winding down and the children back in school, it's kind of a new year here at St. Anthony, our fall kickoff. Today we are looking at what it means to be lost. Not just physically lost, but lost in other ways too. I think we have all had the experience of feeling lost, even if we knew exactly where we were. Sometimes feeling lost is more difficult than being lost. Maybe you feel lost in a relationship. Maybe you're just not in a good place with your spouse or sibling or co-worker or classmate. Maybe you feel lost as a parent. You feel lost in your role as a mom or dad, trying to respond to and handle all the phases of development that children go through as they grow up. Maybe you feel lost at school. Maybe you feel lost in the middle of hundreds of classmates. Maybe you dread Monday through Friday, having to go to school where you feel lost. Maybe you feel lost right here in church. Maybe you are not sure why you are here, why you still come. Maybe you are lost in a relationship with God, and you wonder why God hasn't found you. So what do you do when you feel lost? Maybe you panic. Maybe you paralyzed with fear or worry. Maybe you try to escape. You look for anything to help you cope or avoid the feeling of being lost. Maybe you pretend to others, or maybe you pretend to yourself that you are not lost at all. But the bottom line is this, that when we are lost, we don't want to remain lost. We all have a very strong, ingrained human desire to be found. And so today we are looking at the first thing to do when we are lost. What's the first step to take? How do we start down the path of being found? And we just heard from the Gospel of Luke, three parables with the same thread. Something is lost, and then something is found, and then there's a celebration. The most famous of all is the parable of the prodigal son. The son says to the father, "Dad, I've got things to do. I've got places to go. So I can't wait for you to die to get my inheritance. I would like to have my inheritance right now." And so that is as shocking then as it sounds to us right now. But even more shocking than the son's demand is the father's response. He gives him what he wants. And so the prodigal son takes his inheritance and goes off to live a life of dissipation, which is Bible talk for he made a lot of poor choices. And then the whole story takes a sudden turn. The prodigal son comes to his senses. He finally gets it. I don't have to live like this. I'll get up and I'll go back to my father. I'm going to go home and face the music. And that's exactly what he does. Now, the father in the story, of course, represents God. And what's God's response to the prodigal son? While the son is still a long way off, the father caught sight of him, and he was filled with compassion. he ran to his son. He embraced his son, and then he kissed his son. Apart from the story of Jesus suffering, dying, and rising, I can't think of a more important story than the prodigal son. For it explains to us who God is, who we are in relationship to God, especially when we have made many poor choices that have left us lost. So what's the picture of God in the prodigal son? First of all, we don't catch sight of someone who is far away unless we have an eye out for them, unless we are out there scanning the horizon, searching for them. And that's just what the Father is doing. That's just what God is doing when we are lost. God is right there scanning the horizon, watching and hoping that we'll make even the slightest movement towards Him. And when we do, when you and I make a move towards God, when we take the smallest step, He's there to meet us. In fact, He comes running to meet you and me. But wait, there's more. It gets even better. It's even more unbelievable than that. When we make a movement towards God, even when we have made mistakes, even when we have made really poor choices, like the prodigal son, God isn't angry with us. God is filled with compassion for us. When it comes to being lost, here's what we need to know about God. He's already there looking for us, waiting for us to want to come home. God is searching us out. God is wanting you and me to be found. And if and when we do take a step in God's direction, God will meet us there, right where we are. And He will meet us with love and mercy, with open arms and with joy. Now, God's response may not seem reasonable to us. Listen to what Jesus says in the first of the 3 parables today. What man among you, having 100 sheep and losing one of them, would not leave the 99 in the desert and go after the lost one until he finds it? But for most of us, why would we do that, right? It just doesn't make sense. Shouldn't we keep the 99 safe and let the one go? Because if we go after the lost one, wouldn't we risk losing the 99? But here is the main point. God treats each one of us like we are His only son, like we are His only daughter. And so if any one of us is lost, God's highest priority is to find each one of us. And so what's our first step when we are lost? Like the prodigal son, our first step should be to get up and go to God. And that begins with the admission that we are in fact lost. Now that sounds incredibly obvious, but in fact it is remarkably difficult to acknowledge that I can't do this on my own anymore, to admit that I need help, and then to take a real step towards finding that help. The prodigal son had to undertake a long journey towards home. The journey that we need to take when we are lost is, for the most part, a spiritual journey. And it begins in prayer. It begins by returning to God in prayer, talking to God about our feeling lost, talking to God about what's going on openly and honestly. And it's okay to be frustrated or even angry at God. God can handle it. You see, I talk to God not to tell him something he doesn't already know, for God knows everything. I talk to God because I can't truly be open to hearing God if I'm not first open with him about my problems. If we believe God is always looking for us, our world and our lives will be so different. If we believe in the love and mercy of God, if we believe that God is relentless and extravagant in his love for people who are lost, as relentless and extravagant as that shepherd in today's parable who left 99 of his sheep to find the one who was lost, if we believe in God like this, it would change everything. It would change the church. In fact, it's what will change this church of St. Anthony. Here at St. Anthony, our new parish vision, found at the bottom of the front page of your parish bulletin, will focus on reaching and engaging people who are not attending church on Sundays, people who may be feeling lost when it comes to church and faith, especially our young people, your children and your grandchildren. Now, if that's not you, if you come to church every Sunday, you might feel left out of our parish vision, like the older brother of the prodigal son. It might seem unfair to you that we're going after the one and leaving the 99 behind. Well, my friends, that's true. It is not fair, but that's how God works. That's what Jesus is telling us about his Father's love for us. At the end of the prodigal son parable, it becomes clear that the older son is lost too, perhaps even more lost than the younger brother. The older son has spent all this time with the father, following the rules, doing his duty, but yet he doesn't know the father very well. For God's first desire is seeking and finding the lost, those who don't know his relentless and extravagant love. That is God's mission. And if it's God's mission, it is our mission too. The mission of this parish, the mission of us, the 99 who are here every Sunday. Other, we might complain or gossip about our new parish vision, that we deserve this or that. Or we can choose to be part of the work that God is doing right here, right now at St. Anthony's. And I'm here to tell you that St. Anthony is fully committed to reaching and engaging people who are lost from God and faith. And that's reason for all of us to celebrate. The bottom line for today's message is this: if you feel lost, come home to God and talk to God about it. God is waiting for you. He's scanning the horizon. He's waiting to warmly welcome you home. And if you don't feel lost yourself, then please join us in the mission of the church. Join the work of this parish in scanning the horizon, on the lookout for even one more person who is looking to take that first step towards God. God is waiting to work through you and me to bring others home.